I was always the quiet kid in class. I was the person who would sit at the back of the classroom, never talk to anybody, literally just go to school, do my work, and then go home. No extracurriculars, no nothing. And I think a big part of the reason why I was like that was because I genuinely despised high school. I genuinely despised school in general. Now, in retrospect, my high school was actually not that bad. In fact, it was pretty good. There were a lot of intriguing classes that I took. They had accounting, engineering. They had classes that taught you how to do taxes, things like that. There were a lot of different groups of people. It was a very diverse school. It was a very big school as well. And I had my friends with me. So, retrospectively, my experience wasn't very bad, but I feel like I didn't really maximize my experience to the fullest extent that I could have. And I think a big part of the reason why is because I didn't have access to the information that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. Now, with that being said, like I said earlier, I was the quiet kid in class. And while I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, I think the reasoning behind me being the quiet kid in class was detrimental to not only my high school experience, but my overall development as a person. Because as I went throughout the years without socializing with people, and it's not like I was completely antisocial, I still talked to my friends and I would occasionally speak up in class, but generally speaking, I kept to myself. And I think a big part of the reason why, aside from the fact that I despised school, was because I thought that socializing was a talent and not a skill. Okay, and that is the first thing that I wish I knew in high school. Socializing is not just a talent. Yes, some people are naturally inclined toward being more social, toward being the center of attention, the life of the party, if you will. But I wasn't like that. I was not born like that. I was not cut like that. Even to this day, I am still not like that. However, I have learned through experience, through trial and error, how to socialize. Socializing is something that can be learned. So if you're the quiet kid in class, learn how to socialize. Okay, that doesn't mean that you have to talk to people that you don't necessarily like. It doesn't mean that you have to be friends with anybody that you don't necessarily like. But just take the opportunity to speak out more, to speak up. Okay, when the teacher asks a question, raise your hand and answer the question. Even if you're wrong, get in the habit of speaking up. Because when you hit adulthood, you have to speak up. Okay, you have to make those doctor appointments. You have to be willing to speak up whenever something is wrong, when they overcharge you. Because that could be the difference between you paying your rent and you going homeless, or you paying your electric bill and you going without lights, or not being able to watch my videos anymore. You have to be able to speak up. That is a skill that you will need in adulthood. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's coming to save you. And although I knew this somewhat as a child or as a high schooler, I didn't really understand it enough, or I didn't see the urgency in actually applying it. Okay, I never took it upon myself to enhance my social skills until after high school when I started working retail. Now, I already talked more about working retail in another video that I made very recently, but even if you choose not to work retail, you have a school full of other people who are your age. If you have nothing else in common, that in and of itself should be a conversation starter. You have things in common on the basis that you're the same age and you go to the same school. That right there should be enough. Now, I understand if you don't like the people that you go to school with. Okay, I wasn't particularly fond of the people that I went to school with. Nothing against them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just I felt like I didn't really fit in, or I didn't belong with most of the people. However, you'll never know if you actually fit in with the people until you try talking to them. And in retrospect, there were probably a lot of people, especially girls, who I would have fit in very well with, who I would have been able to progress into platonic or romantic relationships with, had I just taken it upon myself, taken the initiative to try socializing. Because socializing is a skill. You can't have that defeatist mindset that you will never be able to socialize with people. Okay, that mindset kept me from doing YouTube for a while. And look at where I'm at right now. Okay, I never thought that I could sit here and talk to a camera and give people advice. And yet here I am, making a literal living doing that. You have to learn how to socialize. It is a skill, not a talent. Now, I think a big part of the reason why a lot of you are afraid to socialize with people, and I guess I can only speak for myself, but a big part of the reason why I was afraid to socialize with people is because I cared so much about what people thought. Newsflash, people do not care about you in high school. People don't care about you in general, but especially in high school. Okay, and that is the next thing that I wish I knew in high school. When I got my first job at IHOP, my money management skills were absolutely terrible. Every single paycheck I would get, I would go to the mall and spend it on Jordans and fake jewelry. Every single paycheck. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. All of which I ended up selling for lower than I got it for, by the way. Or just giving away for free. Okay, I spent hundreds of dollars on all of these material items for what? For the sake of impressing people that didn't actually care. Would I get the occasional compliment? Yes. But guess what? Nobody was up at night thinking about my outfits. Nobody is up at night thinking about your haircut. Nobody is up at night thinking about the way that you speak. Nobody is doing that. People don't care about you because they are too consumed with their own insecurities. Think about it. You spend more time thinking about your own insecurities than you do about other people's insecurities. You probably don't even notice the insecurities that other people have because you're so consumed with your own insecurities. And that's for the better. That's for the better. You should focus on yourself. You should focus on developing yourself such that you transcend your insecurities, but also have the level of awareness to understand that people are not thinking about you to the extent that you think they are. And even if they are thinking about you, okay, even if there are people who bully you or whatever, the chances are they hate themselves even more than they hate you. You see, the only reason why anyone would ever criticize somebody, and I'm not talking constructive criticism, I'm talking about criticism with malicious intent, bullying. The only reason why somebody would ever bully you is because they are not content with who they are as a person. They have nothing but hate and negativity to spread to other people. They need to seek therapy. They need to seek counseling. But instead of doing that, they'd rather project their pain onto you. Misery loves company. Do not fall for it. Do not fall for it. Pain feeds on pain. The moment that you show love and compassion to the people who don't show it back to you, that's when you've won the battle. That's when you've won the battle not just with them, but with yourself. And that's when you can start to transcend your own insecurities. Now, the next thing that I wish that I knew as a high schooler is that you do not have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. This is the biggest lie that they sell you in high school, is that you have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. That is absolute cap. Bullshit. You do not have to know what you want to do with the rest of your life when you're 16 or 17. You don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life at any age. Because guess what? Your purpose may not have been invented yet. To somebody who was born in 1980, if they graduated high school in 1998, they would have never known that something like YouTube or Facebook or Instagram would be invented. And they would have never even thought that it would be a potential career for them. And yet here we are, okay, in 2022, where we're able to talk to cameras and make a living doing so. Your purpose may not have been invented yet. Now, I understand the reasoning behind it. The reason why they put so much pressure on you is because they want to initiate that thought process. But I think that schools in general and society in general could do a better job of reminding people at any age, but especially as high schoolers, that you don't have to have your whole life planned out. You don't have to know what you want to go to college for. You don't have to know if you want to go to college. You don't have to go to college. Okay, that's the next thing right there. That is the next thing that I wish that I knew in high school. I wish that I had known that you do not have to go to college to be successful. I left high school with 100% certainty that I was going to the University of Texas at Austin, which at the time was my dream school. I had worked years to get into that school. From the time I figured out what a class rank and a GPA was, and from the time that I figured out about the top 8% rule at UT Austin, at least it was top 8% at that time. I don't know what it is now, but from the time I figured those things out around sophomore year, I worked my ass off to get into that school. Lo and behold, I ended up going to community college and then dropping out after 1.5 semesters. And now I do YouTube for a living, and I write books, and I do live coaching. These are things that don't require college. You don't have to go to college to be successful. Now, don't get it twisted. This is not me saying that you shouldn't go to college. I would never tell you that you should not go to college unless you want to do something that does not require college. In that case, yes, college is an absolute scam. It is the biggest finesse of the century. There is no point in pulling out tens of thousands of dollars worth of student loans in order to go and major in something that isn't going to help you on your actual career path. Something that you don't need. Okay, you don't need a degree for certain things. For example, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't need a degree, depending on what you want to go into. Obviously, if you want to open up your own law firm, or if you want to open up your own accounting firm or medical clinic or whatever, yes, you're going to need to go to college for that. But you don't need to go to college to be a YouTuber. You don't need to go to college to be an actor or actress. You don't need to go to college to be a lot of things, especially in this day and age. What you need is information. You need access to information, and information is more accessible than it's ever been before because we have the internet, we have YouTube. Okay, all of the things that I teach you guys, especially about manifestation, just principles pertaining to success, I learned all of these things on my own accord. School did not teach me any of these things. I learned them in my own free time because I had a hunger, I had a thirst for knowledge, for wisdom that would help me level up in life in the way that I wanted to level up. I didn't want to level up in corporate America. Now, if that's something that you want to do, you need to take your ass to college. You need to pull out those loans and you need to go to college because you're going to get the return on the back end when you go to corporate America because that's where you want to be. But if you're like me, which I'm assuming that a lot of you are like me in that you don't want to be a part of that corporate American structure or corporate wherever you live, that structure, then that's fine. You don't have to go to college. Okay, you don't have to go to college and you can do it on your own. But you have to understand that it's not going to come overnight. You see a lot of people, they compare college to entrepreneurship or to self-employment, and they're so willing and able to pull out tens of thousands of dollars in loans to go to college and spend 4 years of consistent work, consistent effort with no direct immediate return. And yet when it comes to entrepreneurship, somebody will try YouTube for a month. They'll post 5 videos and decide that it's not for them because they didn't get enough views. Okay, you have to make it make sense. You have to make it make sense to me because it's still not registering. Anyways, the next thing that I wish I knew in high school was that friendships don't last. Your circle will get smaller and smaller and smaller as you get older. And I'm not saying this to be cynical. I'm not saying that you should take preemptive measures and cut off all of your friends right now, but appreciate the friends that you have right now. And especially, please, if you take nothing else from this video, don't take for granted the ability to get all of your friends in one place at one time. Because once you get out of high school, assuming that you and your friends are actually progressing in your lives, that will no longer be possible. Logistically speaking, when everybody starts going to different colleges, everybody starts taking jobs in different places, they start moving to different cities, they start getting married or finding girlfriends, whatever, they're not going to be able to hang out with you all the time. Okay, I think the last time I got me and all of my childhood friends, and when I say my childhood friends, I'm talking about the group of people that I ate lunch with every single day of high school. We're talking 4 years where we would hang out pretty much every single day. I haven't hung out with those people, with all of those people at one time, since probably 2018 or 2019. I think around late 2020, it finally registered with me that that's never going to happen again. We're never going to be able to get everybody in the same place because we're all doing our own things, especially now that I've moved away. I moved 30 minutes away. I have 2 friends that went very, very far away for college to different parts of Texas. I have some friends who stayed back home, different friends who are making other moves. It's not possible. Okay, it's not possible because people have jobs, they have school schedules, I have my own schedule, and the same will apply in your life. Like I said, assuming that you and your friends are all on your P's and Q's. If you're all on your shit, then yeah, you're not gonna be able to hang out together all as one group. So in high school, appreciate that. Do not take that for granted. Those late nights where you're out playing basketball and then you finish playing basketball and then you're just sitting on the bench at night just talking, just shooting the shit, don't take that for granted.